everyone. I welcome you all to the next session of the verbal and non-verbal communication as I promised you last week. At times you must have noticed all of a sudden somebody enters in the room and his charisma and demeanor is such that everybody starts looking at him, though he haven't said anything. And there are times, on the contrary, there's somebody who comes in and starts talking to you, and the moment he opens his mouth, you feel, why did he even open his mouth? So then, the world knows you the moment you open your mouth. You're known for what you are within. So I'm here to talk about the non-verbal communication skills today, as I promised you last week, and I want to start from the grassroots level. So to begin with, what is communication? Communication comes from a Latin word, communicare, which means to share. In short, we need to share and process information for connecting to each other. It is also importantly said to be the ability to connect. I do believe the most important thing is to connect with people. The word listen, when jumbled together, becomes silent. Our old friend is silence. So that's why I say that nothing is wrong to be quiet for a minute to understand somebody else. We just don't have to listen to react. Silence is the key to a better communication. If you see the pie chart beside, wherein we see 55% of the people communicate through the body movements, 7% through words, and rest 38% through gestures. Right? So many body language experts and sources agree that about 50 to 80% of the human communications are non-verbal. And it's like, the sending and receiving of signals happen on conscious and unconscious levels. As we have already discussed that communication is divided into two parts, that's verbal and non-verbal. What is verbal communication? Verbal communication is the sharing of information between individuals by using speech. It's quite clear. Whatever you say comes under the verbal communication. Now, this verbal communication can be categorized into oral and written communication. Oral is obviously that you use it with your friends, your boss, anybody, it's like a very informal sort of a thing. You can talk to them, you don't even bother what language or what words, the use of words is not paid attention to. Whereas the written communication is supposed to be a little formal one, used in your business organizations, schools, colleges, etc. Now you must have noticed there are some people who are excellent in their written skills. But the moment they see the panel of experts sitting in front of them, they don't know how to react. They get completely awestruck. They cannot talk in front of them. So that will be one segment that I plan to do after this. Moving on, let's see what are the non-verbal communications. Non-verbal communications are, it refers to the gestures, the body movements, the eye contact, the tone of voice and other ways people can communicate without using a language. It is also called a manual language, the process of sending and receiving signals through your movements. We just don't have the spoken words. We just don't have the written segment. Okay, your gestures are so powerful. With your hand, you can just say stop there or come in. So your hand says it all. So they have to be used very carefully. The term non-verbal communication came into light in 1956 by a psychiatrist whose name was Urban Rouge. So I'm going to discuss 6 dimensions under it, which will. Judy Burgoon was a psychiatrist who in 1994 discovered these 6 dimensions, which I'm going to discuss about it, and they're very interesting, believe me. First is kinesics, second is vocalize, third is artifacts, fourth is proxemics, fifth is haptics, and sixth is chronomics. Let's deal with it. Kinesics is the body movement which includes the facial expressions and the eye contact. You know, the examples of self-placating things you must have seen, which helps to communicate much. You must have seen somebody having a finger on the temple. Must be thinking. Someone maybe rubbing his chin. Something, a person is deep in thought. Or I'll give you a better example. Virat Kohli in the cricket field biting his nails hard. We all know he's tensed, and that's the climax of the match. When a person doesn't have to say it, but you can gauge from his body movement and eye contact. Vocalize. It is a study of that emotion and provide cues as to how the message should be interpreted. The pitch, the rate, the volume, the tone, the pattern, the accent, all these things influence the message, how it is received and interpreted. I'll give you an example. There are two ways of saying one simple sentence. Okay. Where have you kept my things? Where have you kept my things? I hope I am so sorry I have not startled anybody by that reaction. What I mean is, you can very well understand the speaker's state of mind when he gives you this kind of a tone and pitch, which you can decipher from his voice itself. So God has given you an amazing toolbox, and it's sheer magic if you know it. The pitching, the modulation makes all the difference in someone's life. So as we continue, we move on to artifacts. That's another important and very beautiful thing to understand. That's artifacts are defined as physical items that can act as implicit communicating devices. Artifacts include clothing and other apparels, like car model or maybe house or a watch that person wears. It means when somebody owns or wears something and the other person who sees it deciphers that this and makes an impression based on those commodities. I'll give you one example. Anushka Sharma always carries a Louis Vuitton bag. Oh, she's classy. Mahendra Singh Dhoni owns a Hellcat. Oh, he has a taste. So when we form impressions based on these commodities, maybe a watch, maybe anything physical, a house, a car or anything, that comes under the category of artifacts. We proceed to proxemics. Now, proxemics is the study of the distance or the space between two people who are communicating. The psychologists say that this distance can tell you that what is the relationship status. Imagine how dangerous it is. Like you meet a stranger, he can make you comfortable. Okay, by the way he talks to you, with the distance he maintains with you. Whereas somebody who is known to you might be unbearable because he doesn't know how to maintain the gap. So based on this, psychologist has divided it into 4 categories. Let's see what they are. The first one is the intimate one, that is the distance will be 0 to 18 inches. The second is personal, the distance is 18 inches to 4 feet. Social is the distance should be 4 to 10 feet, and public goes over 10 feet. Imagine the way you stand with someone can make us gauge the relationship equation or the personal equation with him or her. That's intriguing. Next we move on to haptics. Haptics comes from a Greek word haptikos, which means able to come into contact with. Haptics is basically the sense of touch. Sense of touch conveys a rich and detailed information about an object. Some forms of haptics communication can be a handshake. If you remember, I was talking about a handshake in the previous session wherein I told you a firm handshake shows that you're confident about yourself, whereas a loose one shows the contrary. So one means, the sense of touch can convey a lot of things. A person coming and touching you, you can make out what is the sensation behind. A person coming and congratulating you or patting you on your back shows that obviously he's happy about your achievement. The sense of touch allows one to experience different sensations. God has given us the power to understand who comes in contact with us. Anybody touches you, you know what is the feeling behind. So the sense of touch is also very, very crucial. Next in line we have chronomics. Chronomics is the study of how human beings communicate through their use of time. It is basically good timing. Okay. Chronomics refers to a communication based understanding of time. These understanding vary from culture to culture and even person to person. Okay. Like in Japanese culture, they have a more strict understanding of time, and if they have called a meeting at 10 o'clock, it is rude to be late by 10 minutes even. But in South American and Latin American countries, it's like arriving late is very cool. So it is your understanding of time. It differs from person to person and even culture to culture. After analyzing the non-verbal skills, you might ask me how to work on them. So it is my opinion that you need to be conscious of your movements and gestures. Start observing yourself. And you can also stand in front of the mirror and notice your reactions to different situations. You evolve with age and practice. So let's start shaping ourselves. I'll surely come back to you with another session on how to improve the verbal communication. Do share your valuable insight and comment for me to know how useful I was. Feel free to let me know the topics you wish that I would cover in the near future. Stay tuned and follow me. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Thank you.